Before starting this video, I'd like to simply say that Marathon has a lot of haters, but I personally am not one of them. However, I'm also not a Marathon player. I'm a Destiny player. And what that entails is the fact that I have about 72 hours in Marathon and about 13,000 in Destiny 2. I like Destiny 2 a lot, probably more than is healthy for the average person, and I'm sure many people would disagree with the amount of my life that I've spent playing this game. However, and I would like to say this, not other people, this is my opinion, so fuck off, um, severely disagree with the opinion that Marathon is the PvP game and Destiny 2 or a potential Destiny 3 should be the PvE focused side of the franchise. Destiny has always been a dual game with similar importance placed in both PvE and PvP. In fact, year one of Destiny 1 would not have made it 3 months without PvP to serve as the pseudo endgame for that game. And so I would like to say that similar things are taking place in Destiny 2 right now. The only reason the game is even halfway near afloat is because of PvP players who are hopelessly stuck in Destiny 2 because there is no game like it. There is no arena shooter out there right now with any similar mechanics to Destiny 2. No double jumps, no mid-range TTKs, nothing of the sort. No abilities that actually mix up gameplay, even if in Destiny 2 it's a complete fucking garbage fire right now. Destiny 2 is still incredibly unique, and Marathon does not reach even anywhere close to the same movement shooter genre. Marathon is in itself a very, how do I say this nicely, generic shooter. There are grenades that are consumables. There are abilities that let you move. There are things that you can shoot at your enemies that aren't guns, and things you can shoot at your enemies that are definably projectile guns. In Destiny, we have double jumps, we have movement tech, we have supers, we have real things that change the gunplay, real things moment to moment that you need to think about, heavy ammo, etc. In Marathon, you don't have that. In Destiny 2, as an arena shooter, Bungie's free to take liberties. There's a super that will instantly touch you if it gets close enough to you. There's literally nothing you can do about it, but it's fine. It's an arena shooter. That means that you die and you're dead for 7 seconds, not 15 minutes putting together a new build. In Marathon, when you die, it's over, which means that things must either not kill you instantly, or if they do kill you instantly, for it to be very serious. Essentially, snipers must be rare, or they must not kill you instantly. Shotguns should not instantly fry you in close range. Melee attacks shouldn't one bang you in close range. All of these things do happen because Bungie is essentially brain dead when it comes to balancing PvP. But the point of this is that in an arena shooter, you can take liberties with design, and Marathon cannot afford to take those same liberties as a limitation of its genre. That's not to say that Bungie hasn't taken those liberties, because of course they have, and actually, personally, and I know this is controversial opinion, I think this has a significant amount to do with Marathon's continued population decline, because people are sick of throwing down a bubble and then knifing each other to death, or getting the goo gun from compiler and spamming it everywhere as the only means of effective PvP. In an arena shooter, such things are not an issue because, as I stated before, if you die, you're dead for 7 seconds, not 300. And so there is this growing sentiment that I would like to harshly combat in this video, that Marathon should serve as the PvP game, I mentioned it earlier, and Destiny 2 should serve as, or Destiny 3, should serve as the PvE with a little bit of PvP sprinkled in. But the problem with that sentiment is it completely undervalues the impact PvP has had on the Destiny franchise. Few people understand that during Shadowkeep, PvE content was so fucking dry that nobody played the game unless it was for PvP. It was genuinely unbelievable. The seasonal content was just nothing. Everything came out week over week and it was terrible, and the battle pass was new, and so the first iteration sucks because the first iteration always sucks, but PvP was there to carry the game. Need I remind you, this happened despite Bungie releasing effectively no PvP content aside from maybe a few game modes and trials, which I'll talk about in a second, but yeah, that was a whole ordeal. During Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, even into Lightfall, when they started supporting PvP and only made it significantly worse because they put SBMM back into the game, PvP alone stood as the game's core chase. There were PvE players, yes, a lot of them, but PvE players in Destiny 2 historically have always been on the more casual side, and the ones that are more, let's say, addicted are clear farmers or speed runners or, people like that who are just as, I hate the word valid, just as real of a player base as the PvP players, but they are not the same population density. PvP players form such a significant population count that actually, if you look at certain days on popularity report, PvP is one of the most played activities, and it hasn't gotten piss in the last several years for content. We haven't gotten new maps since Into the Light, dude. Like, it's actually pitiful how little Bungie cares about the most engaging part of their game. It's genuinely insane. In fact, I would go beyond saying that Bungie didn't support PvP. I think their net impact on PvP has been actively antagonistic ever since the introduction of Trials of Osiris. Firstly, Trials came out so half-baked, it wasn't even put in the oven, dude. It was just a raw piece of dough on the fucking table, and they expected us to eat it. And then when they finally did cook it, they kept molesting it with different matchmaking changes that were repeatedly destroying and then bringing back and then destroying the population over and over and over again. And despite all of this, the most popular Destiny 2 streamers managed to build consistent fan bases on Trials of Osiris, one of the most fucked with game modes of all time. All because it's the only endgame PvP chase that Destiny 2 has ever had that made any sense at all. The first iteration of comp was made to distribute objectively broken pinnacle weapons that were absolutely terrible for the game's meta. And then, instead of nerfing those weapons, they just made it easier to climb the comp ranks so that you could get them. And then when they finally did nerf those weapons, comp had no purpose again. And so, eventually, comp evolved into an emblem distributary. And then they finally added something that could qualify as a high rank in comp, and it was made to distribute one emblem, Umbral Echelon, which came out March 7th, 2025, and they haven't made a new replacement for yet. And so I say, again, despite all of this actively antagonistic handling of Destiny 2's PvP, there is still a consistent player base because Destiny 2 needs PvP to survive. For a 6-perk weapon, the average god roll for a PvE player is a 1 in 36. For a 7-perk weapon, it's a 1 in 49. For a PvP player, those same weapons are about a 1 in 3,000, which means that a PvP player who cares about barrels, mags, and masterworks will, over time, put in more hours than a PvE player. Why, then, are we not supporting the PvP community? It makes no sense. To bring this back around to Marathon, because I know you guys are waiting for me to do that, it is the title of the video after all, Marathon has no such similar breadth of content. In Marathon, you can't go grind PvE and then come bring your stuff into PvP. In Marathon, you can't sit and grind a Lost Sector for 5 hours because you're brain tired that day and you don't feel like grinding with every single brain cell that you have. In Marathon, you can't spend 3,000 hours iterating on the same build, changing it molecule by molecule until you come up with something perfect that you like to use, because if you die once, it's all gone. And so, I say again, Marathon is not a replacement for Destiny PvP, and it never will be, strictly limited by the genre. And not only this, Marathon also fails to capture the same players that Destiny 2 PvP has managed to hold on to all this time. Destiny 2 PvE players love aggressive play. This is why AE was such a shit system and failed the player base so hard. Before Bungie's attempt to police the way people play the game, Destiny 2 was one of the most aggressive first-person shooters on the market. More aggressive than something like COD, you could move more than something like Apex, there was better gunplay than something like, I don't know, Hyperscape, which was just super aggressive all the time. In Destiny 2, it was a very seriously aggressive game. And also, it made sense. There were fine gunfights. There was a lot of fine motor skill that you had to study. Stompy's lineups, Icarus dash skating, Warlock skating, Titans learning how to move around the map with their jump, how to be aggressive and yet passive at the same time, how to control engagements with their wall. Stuff like this that is considered aggressive gameplay was all over the place in Destiny 2, and it doesn't exist in Marathon. Marathon is a more passive game. Moving costs stamina. Using your movement abilities costs stamina. Other abilities are on strict long cooldowns. These things are controlled movement elements. The interesting thing about Destiny 2 was its uncontrolled neutral game movement, things that are not on a cooldown, things that you can just do repeatedly over and over again to move around the map. High skill, expressive ways to assert control over the game you play with your movement. These things are basically what separates Destiny 2 out as a shooter from other games, and without it, it's basically just another generic shooter. Nobody wants to play Apex Legends 2, they just want to play Apex, but not on 20 Hz servers, okay? This is why Marathon failed to capture a wide audience, because it's just Apex, but as an extraction shooter, and it's fucking boring at times, okay? It's not boring all the time, it is a good game, but it gets boring at times because you can't move around the map the same way you can in Destiny 2 with the freedom and the expression. It's just not the same, and that's why Marathon can't capture the same movement-focused gamers that Destiny 2 managed to. If you ask Destiny players what their previous favorite game was, a lot of them will say Halo because they're Bungie fans, but a surprising amount of them will say Titanfall 2, which was an extremely movement-focused game. And Destiny 2 I see as a kind of spiritual successor to that. Your movement isn't as unlimited and free as it is in Titanfall 2, but Destiny 2 had a similar sort of neutral game, sort of always moving, sort of aggressive philosophy that made it really unique compared to a lot of the other stuff on the market right now. Something like CSGO, for example, is notably passive. If you move, your gun won't shoot where you're aiming it. Something like Valorant, another tac shooter, if you are strafing, your gun will not hit what you're trying to aim at. Destiny 2 was kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Moving around was what gave you an edge. You're supposed to be moving constantly. In the same way that you're supposed to constantly move in Halo, you're supposed to constantly move in Destiny 2. To stand still is death, the old Doom adage. And that's why people played the game. They played the game to move, because standing still is fucking boring. Sometimes it's fun to play a strategic game, and there are definitely people that prefer that. But Destiny 2 exists to capture those of us with ADHD adjacent fucking brains that can't sit still, and it rewarded us for constantly spamming buttons on our controllers. Marathon does not do the same thing. Marathon is, at times, an aggressive game, but it's just not the same as Destiny 2, because to move in Marathon is death. Moving makes noise. Moving alerts players to your presence. Moving puts you in an area where the bots haven't been cleared out yet, which draws aggression. Moving puts you into a fucking plant that takes away 3/4 of your health because you don't have a red kit. Moving in Marathon is punishing. It's part of the sandbox, yes, but in the opposite way that moving is part of the sandbox in Destiny 2. It's not there to free you, it's there to capture you, it's there to limit you. This is not to say that infinite movement is a good thing. Destiny 2's movement was also limited. You couldn't stompy strafe jump twice in the air. You couldn't Icarus dash 5 times in a row. There's a reason those things were limited to twice or once, or in Titan's case, a certain amount of time, or in Titan Skating's case, only in a linear direction. These are sandbox elements that while providing a significant skill gap, were also limited and exploitable. If a Titan skated too fast and ran into a fucking wall, all you had to do was swing them or throw a grenade and it would finish them off instantly. If a Warlock Icarus dashed twice, they would have no more Icarus dashes until it recharged in 6 or 8 seconds, and so then you could punish them. If a Stompies Hunter fucked up their line and ended up in the middle of the air, well, now they're a bird in the sky. They're a free target. They have nowhere to hide. And so these movement elements that were simultaneously freeing and limiting and exploitable became the game. Without them, the game was nothing, because with them, the game was everything that no other game was. And you wonder why so many people quit when AE was introduced, when Stompies were nerfed for the first, second, third, or fourth times, when Dodge consistently received cooldown nerfs, despite that never being the problem, when Icarus Dash got moved from 2 to 1 dashes, when Titan Skating got removed, when shooting in the air became effectively impossible, when Trials went from trying to kill each other to try and stand on a zone together, when the game went from try to shoot each other in the shooter game to try to stop each other from shooting each other in the shooting game, the game devolved so much that we're essentially back to the same meta we were in year 1 Destiny 2, and you don't even know it. Year 1 of Destiny 2 was standing around with scout rifles. Guess what we do in Destiny 2 now? Stand around with scout rifles because we're too afraid to get close to each other, because if you are within 40 meters, that's 3 grenades thrown at your head. The game is essentially the same that it was in year 1 when everybody hated it. And Bungie fundamentally misunderstands this conundrum that they've cooked themselves up because they don't understand Destiny 2's allure. They don't get that the reason people play Destiny 2 is the movement, not anything else. That's why Marathon has such limited movement, because they think people play Destiny 2 for the gunplay. They don't. Destiny 2's gunplay is fucking boring, okay? You shoot people and the bullet magnets to their head. Your hand cannon has a fucking refrigerator magnet strapped to the front of it, and the bullet will always hit where you kind of throw it at. Destiny 2 is good because you can move. Destiny 2 is not good because you can shoot. This is obvious. How Bungie has not realized this, I have no idea.